Hey everyone, welcome back to Drive Protected. My name is Eric, and as you can see, we got the brand new Hummer EV in our shop. We got this massive vehicle in our shop and we're doing full front end paint protection film using our Defense Plus paint protection film. And in this video, I'm gonna be doing a bulk PPF install on the hood. And I can tell you already, it's gonna be fun. And I'll let you determine whether or not I truly mean that or not. But as you can see, this hood, we got a couple valleys right over here, which are no big deal. That's pretty much on every vehicle's hood these days. But we got the headlights over here, which actually stick out a couple inches from the very front of the hood and the fender. So normally when I stretch the paint protection film into place to tack it down, this is gonna be in the way. So this is gonna be interesting to work around. And then we also have this black piece on the back of the hood. And we also have these pieces over here on the back of the hood on both sides, which are definitely gonna be getting in the way because with a bulk paint protection film install, the film needs to sit down here, but it's also gonna sit up nice and high over here. So this is definitely gonna affect how the film is installed, how we stretch it, and how we go about doing everything. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into doing the full hood here on the Hummer. As you can see, we've got this big, giant, massive sheet of film. And let's just take a look at the way the film is laying before I start doing anything else. You can see right here, film's laying flat up here, but then it lifts up to sit on this back piece. As soon as I stretch across the back of the hood, this is gonna create problems. We got our big fingers over here, which we always do on bulk hoods. And then we have this black piece in the back over there, which we're gonna have to work around. So what I'm gonna do now, before we do anything, is I'm just gonna spray the top of the film down with slip solution. This is gonna make sure the squeegee is gonna glide without issue. Now I'm just gonna lift the film up, and I'm just gonna spray a bunch of slip solution underneath. I'm gonna soak the adhesive of the film as well as the paint. We'll come around to this back corner as well too. Do the exact same thing. Okay, now, normally what I would do in a situation like this where I've sprayed down the back and the middle, normally I would lift up the front and I would spray that down as well too. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna get the back part of the hood kind of situated into place where it needs to be. Once that's done, then I'll lift up the hood and I'll reposition that. So I'm gonna get my squeegee and my tack solution. So we're gonna start right in the back here, right at this back corner. So you'll see that I got the PPF a couple inches past the back, and it's also sitting probably 4 or 5 inches down onto the fender. And like we always do, we're gonna take and tack the film down onto the fender, and we're not gonna tack it on to the hood. That's gonna come later. So I just got my hot water tack solution behind the film. There we go. We're gonna go over to the passenger side and do the exact same thing. Now we're gonna lift it up, and I'm just gonna pull it a little bit tight. I'm not gonna like pull a ton of tension on it like I normally would. I'm just gonna kind of have just enough tension that the film is lifting up a little bit inside the valley. And we're just gonna take and tack this down. Okay, that's good. Now I will take and lift up and reposition the front. So the aim here is just to make sure that there's no areas where the film is sticking where it shouldn't. You can kind of hear the film sticking to the bumper. That's completely fine. We actually need that, but this is where things get interesting because I've never done one of these hoods before. So you're doing this, or you're watching me do this for the very first time. So I got to figure out my plan of attack. It's always good to try and have a plan of attack before you start, but that gets thrown out the window as soon as you get into it. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. There's a quote about that. I can't remember who. This is my version of that. So my biggest concern right now has always been along the back because it's raised up. This black piece is its own separate piece. Same with that over there. And that's already causing the film to lift up over here, which we don't want. We want the film to lay flat. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my step ladder and I'm gonna start to cut some of the paint protection film out in the middle here, which I'm gonna have to be very careful on how I do this because I don't wanna cut into the paint. So I'm just gonna pop my blade out just a little bit. And then we're gonna come along like this. We have a separate piece of PPF for this black piece. So us cutting this isn't gonna matter. Always wanna make sure that this is lifted up off the vehicle. Okay, that's good. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna cut some of this excess off along the back here as well. What this is gonna do is it's just gonna allow me to do a better job of getting the film to lay down in this valley over here and getting it to lay down right along over here as well too. In fact, I'm gonna get my tack solution now and we're just gonna tack this in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna spray some tack solution down over here in this valley. We're gonna get that tacked down. Now, what I'm actually gonna do is lift the film up here. As you can see, we have this finger. I'm gonna lift the film up here off the fender. And I'm actually just gonna pull this tight. There we go. That's good, and I can tack the rest of this back edge down. That's good. Now we're gonna go do the same thing on the passenger side. Once that's done, then we can start stretching all the PPF into place across the front, which is gonna be interesting considering how far out the headlamp sticks out. By the way, 3 wiper blades, never seen that before. So the aim here is just to cut off some of the excess material. You don't want to cut it all off because if you have to readjust and reposition, you don't want to run the risk of potentially cutting off too much that you can't do that. So I'm spraying my tack solution back there. And I'm just going to get that down just with my finger there. Get that tacked into place. We got too much tension on the film right there, so I actually have to release some of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut off a little bit more material. And we're just gonna leave that there. We can deal with that later. And there we go, that's locked into place. Now we can squeegee down along this back edge here, and we can get that down as well too. Now we'll start working on the front. All right, so now that we got the back down, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna lift the PPF up here. I'm actually just gonna lift it up just enough to make sure it's not sticking anywhere it shouldn't. And what I'm gonna do now is, I know that this headlight comes out so far and it's gonna cause problems, but I don't know how big of a problem it's gonna cause until I try it. So I'm just gonna try right now and actually just stretch this material out enough that, well, if I let go of it right now and if we look across, we got all kinds of wrinkles across the film or fingers. But what I'm gonna do now is just put a bit of tension on it, and I'm just gonna slowly lay this down. Just like so. And then take advantage of the dry PPF and try and stick it to the bumper. That's gonna help. So that'll be good there. I'm actually gonna pull my squeegee out and squeegee this into place so that this doesn't lift up. But we can see right here, this headlamp, we are gonna have to take and make a relief cut kind of right around here yet, but we're not at that point yet. But I like the way this is laying down over here because these wrinkles, these fingers, they're all gone for the most part. Now we just need to do it on the passenger side or the driver's side as well too. So same thing, I'm just gonna lift it up. Just make sure it's not sticking where it shouldn't be. Now I'm looking right across the front of the hood to make sure that there's no wrinkles or no fingers in place. There we go, that's good. We have one minor finger right here. That's super minor, we can deal with that. But now, my next problem is that I have the PPF actually lifting up quite a bit here in this valley, and that's because of how much tension I put on the film, so it actually lifted it up. So we need to get rid of that. Do a bit of a relief cut just to release some, or cut off some excess material. Now this film, I should be able to just take the palm of my hand. I should be able to just get that to lie down. It still lifts up just a little bit. That's completely fine. But all the rest of these air pockets, we should be able to just pull out. Now I'm getting ready to actually start squeegeeing the film into place. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave these sides for last. If you come right over here, you can see the PPF is not even really sitting on the hood. It's more so on the fender. But because there's no fingers along here, minus this little one here, this shouldn't be a problem to get down later. So I'm just gonna take my squeegee, I'm gonna come from the back here, and I'm just gonna slowly start squeegeeing everything forward. Big thing when you're squeegeeing, you don't want to take and pull solution over these ridges, especially when there's tension on them, because that's a quick way to make sure that solution gets trapped behind underneath the film, and it just, ultimately, it just doesn't look very good. So we got a bit of an issue right here. Thankfully, this finger, I can thankfully just stretch it out so that lays flat. Stick that there. There we go, that's good. Now we can start working in the middle over here. So what I'm gonna do now is just with my squeegee, I'm gonna have my squeegee angled downwards a little bit, because all this solution, I don't want to pull it down. I actually want to pull my squeegee down, but actually push the solution out into the flat area of the hood. So just like so, always going over it a couple times just to make sure that there's no moisture left behind. You can actually see this area right over here. It's not gonna lift up anymore, and that's fine. We'll come back later and we'll deal with that. So right now, I can actually take my squeegee, come along the back here. And I can pull all of this forward. Okay, there we go. Now we're gonna start working our way over. And instead of continuing from the middle outwards, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna start right over here. I'm gonna work my way to the middle. Just to make sure that my squeegee is properly gliding. Now we can come to the back here and we can start squeegeeing all this forward. There we go. Now all we have left to squeegee before we get to these edges is this middle section. So what I'm gonna do now is just take my hand, I'm gonna push some of this air out, and then same thing, we're just gonna angle the squeegee down so we can push all this solution outwards. Now we're just going to push this solution out the front of the hood here. We'll come back and we'll deal with the very front when we wrap our edges. As you can see, this is our only finger right here that we need to worry about, and that's super, super minor, literally nothing to worry about. Now, before I actually start and get these sides down, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take care of this section right here. So I'm pulling our film back, and I'm just spraying my tack solution under the film. Now, this is kind of like one of the things I was concerned about with doing this hood is this area right here with the tension on it, you just can't get it to sit down. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm actually gonna have to get pretty close with my cut and make sure I cut just enough off that I can get the film to lay down. Final trimming on these bulkheads like this is always the most time-consuming, tedious part of the installation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to respray my tack solution underneath the film. And as you can see, the PPF actually all popped up in this valley. So we actually have to get that down. which it happens. It's not fun when it happens, but it does happen. Now, we have the film down. I should actually get a microfiber drying towel in here just to make sure that I'm not leaving anything behind, which I'm actually gonna do. All right, so now that I got the microfiber towel in here drying all this up, I can see that I actually got everything down where it needs to be. Now, the only thing I have left to do now is my final trim. But before I do that, I'm gonna get these sides taken care of. Okay, so we're gonna take care of these sides over here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pop the film up and I'm gonna spray my tack solution under the film. And I'm gonna start on the very top of this ridge. And I'm just gonna go back and forth with my squeegee to make sure that I'm pulling all this solution down. Nothing's getting left behind. That's because the hood is sitting a little bit lower than the fender, that keeps wanting to pop up. So we're using a bit of a combination of by hand and we create ourselves a bit of a finger here. So now I got to take and lift this film up, and I'm just going to saw the film down. There we go. This is down. Now we're gonna go do the same thing on the passenger side as well, or the driver's side, sorry. Okay, same thing. Spraying tack solution under the film. We're gonna get some on top of the film as well too, just to make sure our squeegee is gonna glide. I'm actually going to continue to try this method that I did on the passenger side. That seemed to work quite well. Now, I got too much tension here. All I need to do is just lift this up from the fender, just enough to release that tension. Now the PPF won't have any problems laying down flat. That's perfect. Now what we need to do is we need to get the front down. Now, I talked it all up in the intro with about these headlights. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my knife. I'm just gonna make a small cut in the film, and I don't even cut the film. I'm gonna pull that down, and then there we go. That's good. Now I should be able to just get this down. No problem, just like that. Now I can release the rest of the tension on the film. And this should have no problem laying down into place. These little minor fingers, these are nothing to worry about, as long as you take care of them right away. Just like that. Now let's do the passenger side. There we go. Now I can get the rest of this down. Got some minor fingers popping up right there. Totally common. Nothing to worry about. Actually, I should just take and cut the majority of this excess film off right now, so I'm not fighting it. Okay, now we're going to take care of these fingers properly without anything in the way, anything preventing us from having a good quality install. So I'm actually going to pinch the film, pull it away from the vehicle, get just enough tension on it that I can get that all to lay down flat. So the whole reason with the tack solution is you want to flush out the slip solution that's underneath the film. So slip solution's there to make sure you can glide the PPF into place without issue. The tack solution is there to make sure that you can do exactly that, and that is tack the PPF into place. Now all we have left to do is we're going to trim off around the back of the hood right here. We're going to get that down, and then we have to do all of our final trimming and then wrap our edges. So let's get into it. All right, so the last thing I'm doing over here is I'm just pulling the film back just to get my tack solution behind the film so I can lock this edge down. And after this, all that's left to do is the trimming and then wrap the edges and then the post heating, which I'm not gonna bore you guys with in this video. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more Hummer EV PPF content.